Hi, this is Tom. I couldn't find a near-death experience map online, so I created one. And there's a link in the description so that you can visit this map and look at it and comment and give me suggestions and ideas and questions if you have any. I'm going to explore it here off the cuff, and if you want me to tell more, let me know. The way I did this is like a flow chart, like a computer, and that lets me do digressions and detours pretty easily. I added a comment here that it would be next level to add source citations referring to various people's reports. It would be so cool, for example, as we get further into the experience to see that you could go learn more about Mariko Frederick, for example, about a certain element. But for now, this is just based on the hundreds of near-death experiences that I have read or watched. Here you are having a normal human life when all of a sudden you have some distress or trauma, or you're a little different than most people. Most of us, at least myself, what I see around me, the table and chairs and my body, that's it. There's no heaven. But some people have unusual abilities. You might get in a crash or be in an operation, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a surprising new circumstance. You might notice increased awareness. Just something is different. I mean, you might see a body over there and you think, and you suddenly realize that's yours. You might notice that your body is not physical. You might notice you actually really don't have hands and feet and arms and legs. You might notice you can see out the back and left and right all at once. So you just notice that suddenly things have changed. You're in a new circumstance. Now from there, there's a couple of choices. You could, let's take the short path here. You could just see a pinpoint of light that becomes closer and larger. You could enter the light into a place of joy, peace, and harmony, and then you could suddenly be aware or be told that you got to go to your human life, or maybe not even told, and you're suddenly back, maybe possibly painfully whooshed back into your body. And you might alternate between realities for a time. Then you tell somebody what happened. Oh, I just such and such. And let's say they, in the old days, the most common things was that they didn't respond very affirmingly. So from then on, you just keep the experience to yourself, and you keep on with your life. Here we are back at living a human life. And you might have residual metaphysical perceptions or effects. You might have long struggles understanding your experience or your new place in the human world. And that's your near-death experience. That's it. But the beauty of this flowchart structure device is that there's much more to it. I took one path. Let's take another path here. Let's say I'll follow what I would say was what I feel, right, to myself, the more classic near-death experience. So here you are, you're 22 years old. Let's say you're pregnant. Your pregnancy doesn't go well, and suddenly you either pass out in your living room or you're at the hospital and you lose a bunch of blood, and you suddenly find yourself not in the same, just maybe everything was painful and chaotic, and suddenly the pain is gone and the chaos is gone, and then let's look at this digression. Here you are in the hospital, and you see yourself there on the table, or yourself in the living room on the floor, maybe from multiple perspectives simultaneously, or alternately back and forth. I forgot to put a return path from this one. That would be good to do. Then let's go on to the next one. You observe people around your body. Your husband comes into the living room, or your doctors and attendants all the alert lights are going off, and there's a hubbub around your body that you were just experiencing before. You may sense their thoughts. Some people, that's actually a veridical aspect of near-death experiences, that you may later call them out on the thoughts that you perceived. Then you could return back to the default path here, or let's go on to the left. You move to other locations around your body. Maybe you go out to the street or to your friend's house, or in the hospital, maybe you go to the cafeteria or the lobby, the waiting area. You might see people there. This is another source of veridical observations. You might hear somebody say something or see something that shocks them. Somebody saw their brother-in-law or father-in-law in the hospital cafeteria buying a candy bar from the vending machine when supposedly they were a teetotaler with respect to candy. Then you could return back to the main path, or we keep going. We're now going to take a tour of the whole Earth, possibly the universe. We could just this is a tour digression off to the left here. We're just touring. We're having an out of body wandering around this world, disembodied. We may see past and future events. So all of that is in this digression. And then we return. And we go on up the path. And I'm going to digress here. Now, potentially or conceivably often, you don't do this tour. As soon as you find yourself out of the body, you find yourself in a velvety, black, warm, timeless void, like a womb. It's called most often the void, but it's like a womb. You're all alone, and it's normally a positive or neutral or positive experience. You may be aware of other beings. Some people feel afraid, and some people suffer the full eternal misery of hell, usually associated in this void. Or others, for most people, it is pleasant, peaceful, and warm here in this womb-like void. All right, now whether it was miserable or pleasant, eventually you may see in this void a pinpoint of light that becomes closer and larger. Now, we did notice here that you may be aware of other beings in the void, and you may talk to them, you may interact with them. One interesting aspect is very often it seems like people perceive them to their left. While at the same time clarifying that that doesn't exactly have any meaning, left and right, but they perceive the people to their left. And usually in the void, it's one or two or three other beings. It's usually not a whole bunch, though it could be. Okay, but eventually you may see a pinpoint of light that becomes closer and larger. Whether you move or the light moves, it becomes closer and it becomes larger. And you may experience a cleansing process as all wounds and negative thoughts are removed from you. And some people hypothesize that what is happening is that your vibration is being raised, you're being cleansed from all low vibration, so that you can be in this different higher realm. And you enter the light into a place of joy, peace, and harmony. Now, there's another digression here. At this point, you see and experience your human life, and possibly many lives, from your own perspective and the perspective of all who were touched by you, for good or for bad. You may take significant lessons from this life review. It may be painful or embarrassing to you at times, and there may be loving friends around you to support you at the difficult moments, loving souls around you, that you're loved unconditionally, even though you are embarrassed and sorry about your failures. You didn't perform well in this playthrough, let's say. That may happen. And let's proceed on up the line. Next, something else may happen. You may experience grand and glorious earth-like gardens, landscapes, vistas, or buildings with new perception, possibly including colors, sounds, microscopy, and oneness that you can't even explain. Colors you can't explain. Sounds you can't explain. You're just trying to find human words to all these human words. Colors, sounds, microscopy. You see grass at the cellular level, or flowers at the microscopic level. At least those are the words you use to say what you experienced. Or you may describe it, quite frankly, in a brick and mortar sense. This is possibly, potentially, a very brick and mortar like realm. That's why we have words like landscapes, gardens, vistas, and buildings. There may be familiar and unfamiliar people. Elvis, Krishna, Gandhi, your aunt, your grandma. There may be conversations and insights that happen. You may feel you understand things. You may ask people things. You may be able to ask many questions. And you may remember some of them. Some of them you might remember knowing that you wouldn't remember. This may last for a lifetime or lifetimes in this place. Beautiful story of Mariko Frederick. She said she was in this place, and she noticed that all around the garden there were these little groups of people, and they were having interesting conversations. And she said she wanted to be in those groups, and she went to a group, and she, joined in on the conversation. And she said she noticed that every once in a while new people would come to the group and people would leave the group. And this went on again for a lifetime or lifetimes. There's just no reference. And she said eventually she realized that she was in an ego trap. And when she was ready, she left the group. She herself left the group, and she went all alone, and she sat down on a rock, so to speak, and she eventually said, I want to know what's really going on. So, and that was the end of her time in this garden-like place. Let's go on up the line. You enter into ineffable love, or we might say a yet higher realm, a higher vibration, a higher existence, a higher place. This may last for a lifetime or lifetimes. You may forget that you ever were that human. But you're here to tell about it, so you eventually become aware instinctively, or someone tells you of the possibility or the necessity of returning to your human life. I really like Mariko Fredericks. I heard it most recently, in the last year or two. She forgot that there ever was such a thing as Mariko Frederick, and when this point came, her reaction was, I don't know if I know how to go back. You may know instinctively what is to be, or you may beg or argue, I can't go back, they don't need me there, I like it here. You might argue against returning. But you are suddenly and possibly painfully whooshed back into your tiny human body. You may alternate between realities for a time once you get there. It's not all back. You might be wavering between worlds. And you tell somebody, oh, I just such and such. And more and more recently, they'll respond affirmingly. So you continue to talk through and practice expressing your experience. And some people, many years later, after they've worked through therapy, through their own understanding of their experience, they're able to write it down or share it with others. But meanwhile and afterward, they continue living a human life. They might have strange metaphysical perceptions and phenomena, effects, like Dr. Morse, Melvin Morse, pediatrician. He said that an amazing number of them say the watches don't work around them anymore. You may have long struggles or understanding your experience or your new place in the human world. Now, scientific study of these accounts, this phenomenon of the near-death experience is best. The best current scientific study I know of is at the University of Virginia Department of Perceptual Studies. They have some good ongoing study. We need to be able to formalize even definitions of what consciousness is. we need to, there's so much more we can do in the way of organizing, just knowing how to interview people about this, and to be able to more and more be able to know what's going on in the near-death experience. It's been a big thing for me since October 27th, 2003, when I first dove in after a lifetime of zero experience, intentional zero experience. It's been a huge effect. It's had a huge impact on my life. But if you'd like me to tell more, or tell more stories, tell me a story, I'd be happy to do it. Like and subscribe if you want, and visit this flowchart if you want a refresher or want to add comments or suggest any changes. Have a good day. Blessings to you.